it begins, as most good adventures do, with a secret and a promise. The fire in the common room has long since burned down to embers, casting lazy golden light across the dark green leather chairs. Shadows stretch between armchairs like sleepy cats. The only sound is the gentle ticking of a grandfather clock and the occasional crackle from the fireplace. You sit near the farthest corner of the room, one eye on the entrance, one hand curled tightly around the folded silver shimmer of the invisibility cloak, and a secret grin pulling at your mouth. The map is already out, creased, well-worn, and whispering secrets to itself in the dim light. You press your wand to the parchment, voice low and certain. I solemnly swear that I am up to no good. Ink swirls, then blooms across the page. The lines of Hogwarts etch themselves out like the veins of a living thing. Tiny footprints move. Names bow and drift. You lean closer, scanning for one in particular. Your friend, Ravenclaw Tower, descending the spiral staircase. You don't wait long. 10 minutes later, a soft knock echoes through the common room's hidden entrance, followed by the faintest hiss of movement. The panel swings open, just wide enough for someone to slide through, hood up, and grin already in place. "Nice cloak," they whisper, brushing snow off their shoulders. "You steal that from a head of house or a legend?" You gesture dramatically. Why not both? You lift the cloak to show them the inside shimmer, then fold it again quickly. Too long in the open, and the castle might get suspicious. Hogwarts has a way of noticing things, even when no one else does. Your friend crosses the room and slouches into the seat across from you, sliding a bag off their back and onto the floor with a quiet thud. "What's in there?" you ask, eyeing the lump under the flap. They look smug. Chocolate, lantern, 2 extendable ears, and something that might be a prank or a fruitcake. Fred didn't label it. You nod solemnly. Acceptable. Together. You bend over the Marauder's map, your heads nearly touching. The little labeled footprints of teachers drift lazily down far corridors. Filch is in the North Wing. Snape is in the dungeons, unmoving. A name appears briefly near the Great Hall. Mrs. Norris, then vanishes again. You trace a path with your finger, down through the entrance hall, past the statue of Gregory the Smarmy, toward the long corridor that leads to the kitchens. "First stop?" your friend asks. "Food, obviously," you whisper. "Fuel for mischief." You drape the cloak around the both of you. It shifts and settles, heavier than it looks. but soft and cool as silk against your skin. You've done this before, alone, once or twice, but it's always better with company, especially the kind that brings snacks and doesn't ask questions when ghosts float through walls mid-sentence. The two of you shuffle to the exit, hearts pounding. You listen for movement. None. The castle breathes around you, quiet and ancient and awake in its own way. You slip out. The corridor outside is lit only by the soft orange glow of a single floating lantern. Its flame flickers with awareness, but makes no sound. Beneath the cloak, your breath fogs in the cool hallway air. Footsteps muffled, marble cold under your soles. Paintings line the walls, most asleep, a few watching silently. You pass a knight in his frame polishing his sword. He freezes when he sees nothing, and then frowns deeply at the air. You hold your breath. He shrugs, mutters something about drafts, and returns to his work. You and your friend exchange a silent, victorious grin. The map flickers in your hand as you move. The castle shifts subtly around you. You've learned not to trust it, to stay still. Some corridors stretch longer than they were hours ago. One staircase, previously straight, now spirals halfway through. Do we go left or left-er? Your friend whispers. Left-er, you whisper back. Always. You move like shadows, past empty suits of armor, past whispering tapestries. The castle at midnight is not the same place it is during the day. It's slower, more deliberate. Every creak sounds like it was earned. Every floorboard knows you don't belong there. Your friend nudges your shoulder and points. Footsteps. 2 dots on the map appear in the corridor ahead. Argus Filch and one Mrs. Norris. Moving slowly. Too slowly. Probably sniffing for mischief, or just being naturally unpleasant. You both flatten against the wall, ducking under the cloak and holding still. Your heartbeat thumps loud in your ears. The footsteps get louder. A hiss, a mutter, then silence again. You peek at the map. They turned right. You let out a breath you didn't realize you'd been holding. The cloak shifts again as you move toward the stairs. There's a moment, halfway down the next corridor, when the castle groans. Not in pain, just old. Your friend glances up. Do you think the portraits tell on us? No, you reply. They gossip. Different skill set. A tapestry flutters nearby, possibly agreeing. You finally reach the bottom floor, where the light grows warmer, almost gold. The air smells faintly of something baked and magical. Butter Cinnamon? Hard to say. But you're close now. You crouch near the still life of a fruit bowl. Your friend reaches out, tickles the pear. It giggles, becomes a doorknob. And just like that, door swings open. The Hogwarts kitchens await. But that's the next chapter. If Hogwarts had an alarm system, it would not be a bell. It would be a giggle, a high-pitched, unpredictable, sing-song giggle that floats down hallways and through keyholes. A giggle that makes portraits whisper, "Uh-oh," and causes armor to brace for impact. A giggle that means one thing. Peeves is near. You and your friend are halfway back up from the kitchen, stomachs full and arms carrying stolen snacks, mini treacle tarts, 2 enchanted cinnamon rolls, and a suspicious sausage roll that hums faintly when left unattended. The cloak is securely wrapped around the both of you. The Marauder's map clutched in one hand, glowing softly under your wand light. You're heading toward the Room of Requirement corridor. Just a quiet detour when the first cackle breaks the silence. You both freeze mid-step. It echoes. Then comes a string of words, too fast, too cheerful. Snickety snack. Who's hiding back? Feet with no bodies. Are you having a laugh? Your friend's eyes widen. You both press against the wall, as flat as chocolate frogs under a shop shelf. Peeves. You look down at the map. His name bounces erratically across the corridor ahead, zigzagging like a niffler in a jewelry store. There are no other names nearby. But Peeves doesn't need names to cause trouble. He doesn't follow the rules. Peeves makes rules and then sets them on fire. You raise a finger to your lips and motion backward, slowly, carefully, one step at a time. The corridor behind you is open, dimly lit by a single torch that flickers like it's nervous. You duck behind a large stone statue of a troll in ballet shoes and crouch. Another giggle. Closer now. Then, what's this? What's that? A flicker, a flap. Did I see a hat? No, 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 no. You quickly flatten your hood. The edge of the invisibility cloak had lifted slightly as you turned. Your friend swears under their breath. Peeves appears just feet away, hovering in mid-air like a chaotic balloon tied to nothing but his own delight. He's upside down, grinning with far too many teeth, wearing 3 bow ties and a hat made of spoons. His eyes scan the hallway like a child playing hide and seek, with too much energy and not enough patience. I smell mischief and something sweet. He sniffs. Treacle? Tart? Students being sneaky in the dark? Your friend dares to whisper, "We should go." You nod. Quietly, you take a step back and step on the humming sausage roll. It lets out a small, melodious buzz. Peeves stops spinning. "Oh ho ho ho," he croons. "What do we have here?" You hold your breath. The cloak still covers you. You haven't moved. Maybe, just maybe, Peeves swoops downward. Your friend grips your arm tightly. Suddenly, the map in your hand flares. A name, Filch, has just entered the level, moving fast from the east corridor. Your friend's eyes lock with yours. And now, together, you bolt. The cloak flutters as you sprint down the hallway, the sausage roll bouncing somewhere in your pocket. Peeves lets out a delighted shriek. "Invisible's delicious! Oh, this'll be fun." He begins throwing things. Not curses, not objects, ideas. A portrait frame detaches itself and skids across the floor. A chandelier dims dramatically. The torchlights flicker into purple flames. Ahead, Filch's footsteps grow louder. Mrs. Norris is moving with him, her name a blur on the map. You don't speak, just run. Right, left, past the portrait of the mermaid choir, who all begin screeching, "Run, run, run," under the dangling armor near the charm's wing. And then you see it. A niche in the stone, a hidden alcove. You dart into it, dragging your friend under the cloak. Peeves zips past a second later, blowing raspberries at the moon and calling out, "Can't catch them. They're far too slick. But I bet they'll trip on something quick." He vanishes in a swirl of noisy magic. Filch arrives moments after, puffing, muttering, lantern held high. His boots slap the stone as he passes, grumbling about curfews and deviant footfalls. He doesn't stop, doesn't see. He keeps moving. You wait another full minute. Then 2. You exhale, breath shaking just slightly. "I hate him," your friend whispers. "The clown." You nod. He's not even a real ghost. They mutter, "Makes it worse." You straighten, clutching the map and watching the moving names grow smaller on the parchment. Eventually, the corridor falls silent. You both emerge, alive, shaky, snack adjacent. The cloak resettles over your shoulders. A portrait nearby clears her throat. It's an older witch with a stern hat and a book in her lap. She eyes the air directly in front of her and says, pointedly, "I saw nothing. You were never here." You nod at her, even though she can't see. She nods back. The Marauder's map pulses once. your friend whispers. Still heading to the room of requirement? You consider it, then grin. Obviously. You both walk softly now, steps slower, but surer. Peeves is gone, for now. Filch is a floor away. The castle has gone quiet again, as if amused by your brush with disaster. As you round the corner toward the 7th floor corridor, you glance down at the cloak fluttering at your sides, the map still lit in your hands, and the faint crumbs in your pocket from your half-crushed tart. Still invisible, still up to no good, and far from finished. You take the long way to the kitchens, not because you have to, but because you can. Now that Peeves has spun off to some other wing of the castle, and Filch's angry muttering has vanished down the north corridor, Hogwarts settles back into its usual nighttime hush. It's a quieter hush than most buildings would manage. Less silence, more a watchful kind of patience. A place that never sleeps, only waits. The Marauder's map glows gently in your hand, guiding each turn through moonlit corridors and shifting staircases. You and your friend walk in practiced unison beneath the cloak of invisibility. No longer speaking, there's nothing to say that the castle hasn't already heard 1,000 times before. Eventually, you reach the painting, a large, still life of fruit in a bowl, slightly faded from time and candle smoke. The pear in the middle sits full and smug in the shadow of a bunch of purple grapes. You reach from beneath the cloak, your finger extended, and tickle the pear's belly. It giggles, quiet, breathy, childlike. Then it squishes inward and morphs into a dull brass doorknob. Your friend looks at you, wide-eyed. You both nod. The door creaks open, and warm air spills out, carrying with it the scent of cinnamon, yeast, browned butter, and magic. You step into the Hogwarts kitchen, and the world changes. The space is far larger than you expected, twice the size of the Great Hall, with long wooden tables arranged like train tracks across the flagstone floor. The ceiling is high and shadowy, charmed to glow with a steady, golden light, mimicking sunrise despite the midnight hour. Hundreds of copper pots hang from hooks overhead, each gleaming and polished, reflecting soft movement and flickers of enchantment. The warmth is immediate, deep, hearth-born warmth, the kind that settles in your bones and unfurls you from the inside out. It smells of fresh baked bread, lemon tarts cooling on racks, and stew thickening in self-stirring cauldrons at the far end of the room. and everywhere. House elves. There must be at least 50 of them, maybe more, moving in a carefully orchestrated chaos that is part dance, part industry. They are small, sprightly creatures with oversized ears, nimble fingers, and soft, slippered feet. Some wear tea towels, others crisp white aprons, and one, near the oven, proudly sports a hand-knitted jumper with a bread roll embroidered on the front. One elf levitates a tray of pastries across the room, expertly dodging another, who zips by with a basket of eggs floating behind him in a perfect spiral. Another is flipping pancakes mid-air while humming a tune, and two more are seated on high stools, peeling apples with knives that move of their own accord. They are working on breakfast already. A long table near the back is filled with loaves of bread in varying stages of perfection. Some are rising under warm cloths. Others are baking themselves inside stone ovens that belch soft bursts of floury steam. Jars of marmalade and honey float along the line, checking for cracks in the lids. A single butter churn works its way through a slow, enchanted rhythm in the corner, its lid rattling gently in time. You watch, mesmerized. Near the laundry corner, yes, the kitchen has its own. The tiniest house elf you've ever seen is sorting stacks of kitchen cloths into floating bubbles of soapy water, humming something that sounds like a lullaby. Each bubble bursts gently over a basin, and the cloths come out dry, folded, and stacked themselves into drawers. The elves barely notice your presence, until one does. A sharp-sniffing elder elf with a lemon-shaped head suddenly freezes, tilts his ears toward your direction, and says with perfect clarity, "I smells students." You and your friend freeze. Another elf gasps and whirls toward the fruit door. "Is it the Gryffindor twins again?" "No," says the first, narrowing his eyes toward your cloak. "These ones is quieter." You pause, then slowly, gently, lower the cloak. It slides from your shoulders like silver water, pooling on the floor. 6 elves turn at once, then a 7th. A long pause. Then, "Visitors!" one cries. The energy shifts instantly, without a single spoken order. The room pivots. A pair of chairs glides across the floor toward a low table by the hearth. A tablecloth floats itself into place. Lanterns drift downward to brighten the space. A silver tea set clicks itself awake and begins steeping what smells like hot spiced chai. Before you know it, you are seated, stunned. as a swarm of elves brings plates, cups, and best of all, sweets. One sets down a tray of tiny sugar-dusted pies, each warm and humming softly. Another gently slides a dish of pumpkin muffins toward you, murmuring, "Still warm from the oven." Yes, they is. A third appears with a small pot of whipped cream and a spoon that lifts itself and hovers patiently. And then the cocoa arrives. Thick, creamy, richer than anything you've ever tasted. It floats to you in a heavy mug etched with tiny, glowing stars. You sip, and everything else in the world disappears for a moment. The same elf who brought the whipped cream folds their hands and says proudly, "Cocoa's been perfected for 72 years, Hogwarts standard." You nod reverently. It's perfect. Your friend already has sticky bun crumbs on their jumper. This is heaven. Nearby, one elf levitates a tray of raw vegetables while casting freshness charms on them. Another conjures a fireproof net around a vat of porridge, then directs it with a flick of her finger toward a long prep table. In the corner, a huge blackboard updates itself. Breakfast orders, pending. 4 trays of porridge with honey swirl. 6 trays of bacon and eggs, crispy plus soft. 3 trays of vegan toasts, yes again. 11 carafes of pumpkin juice. Slytherin, table. No more garlic bread before 9 a.m. You and your friend eat in silence for a while. The hush of the kitchen wrapping around you like a blanket. The clatter and chatter of the elves doesn't interrupt the peace. It is the peace. One elf places a gently glowing biscuit on your napkin. Just a bit of dream leaf inside. Good for resting thoughts. You pocket it immediately. "You'll be needing this later," she adds with a wink. Another elf carries a wand-length loaf of braided bread to a nearby shelf. She levitates it gently into place among a dozen others, murmuring, "Warm, warm. Keep the crust golden." Your friend leans over and whispers, "I want to live here." You don't disagree. The kitchen isn't just a room. It's a heartbeat. It feeds the castle, literally. Yes, but also emotionally. Each meal is a memory in the making. Each cocoa mug, a small act of protection. Eventually, you realize time is passing. The Marauder's map pulses once in your pocket. A footstep here, a name flickering there. The castle breathes on without you, but you can't linger forever. You and your friend exchange a glance and nod. You rise, brushing crumbs from your lap. Your mug refills itself for the journey. Someone charmed it. Of course they did. As you gather your things, an elf with a crooked hat hands you a bundle of food wrapped in enchanted linen. For later, he says, hunger finds people at the oddest times. Another pats your shoulder gently. You come back if the castle gets too noisy. We keeps it quiet here. You smile. Promise. Then the cloak goes back on, and the fruit painting swings shut behind you with a soft click. You are gone again. Just two pairs of invisible feet echoing softly on the stone. But part of you stays behind. Warm, full, grateful. Because of all the magic at Hogwarts, the kind in the kitchen might be the most important kind of all. By the time you leave the kitchens, your stomach is warm, your pockets are full of enchanted snacks, and the castle has slipped into a hush so deep it feels like you've fallen behind time. You and your friend walk quietly beneath the cloak. Each step cushioned by centuries of magic. The walls around you don't creak. They exhale. The torches flicker as if they're nodding off. The Marauder's map glows faintly in your hand, leading the way back up through shifting staircases and sleepy corridors. Occasionally, a name flickers across the parchment. Pince, turning in her office. Sinistra, passing a tower, but no one nearby. The 7th floor feels even quieter than the rest of the castle. You pass the tapestry of Barnabas the Barmy, still trying to teach his Trolls ballet, still failing spectacularly. One troll pirouettes into a wall, and Barnabas just buries his face in his hands. But you don't stop. You turn down the corridor, blank and windowless, opposite a large suit of armor. There's nothing here. Yet, you glance at your friend and smile. Then you begin to pace. 1 step, 2, 3. We need a place to rest, to breathe, to be hidden, but safe, quiet, but full of warmth. You turn. 1 step, 2, 3. A place to think, a place to laugh, a place to forget the world outside for a little while. The door appears, as if it had always been there, just waiting for someone to need it. Carved wood, dark and polished, a brass handle that glows faintly, like it remembers every hand that's touched it. You reach for it together. The door opens, and you step inside the room of requirement. The air changes instantly. It's warmer than the corridor, but not stuffy. This is hearth warmth, blanket warmth, late autumn sunlight warmth, the kind of warmth that makes your shoulders drop without realizing they'd been tense. The room is vast, but doesn't feel empty. It's carved from stone, but layered with rugs in rich jewel tones, soft and overlapping like petals. There are low tables scattered about, covered with books, candles, half-written letters, and bowls of charmed stones that glow when touched. A fire crackles gently in the corner, surrounded by deep armchairs and enormous beanbags charmed to support your spine exactly where you need it. The scent of the room wraps around you before you fully step inside. Clove, old parchment, polished wood, and cinnamon. It smells like bedtime stories, like thinking, like the inside of someone's favorite dream. The ceiling stretches above you, but it doesn't show beams or plaster. It shows stars, not just painted, real, slowly moving constellations against a backdrop of velvet black. It's not the enchanted sky of the Great Hall. It's quieter than that. It feels like someone took a slice of the night and tucked it here for safekeeping. Your friend exhales softly. You glance at them. Their eyes are wide and shining in the starlight. "I think it made us a sanctuary," they whisper. You nod. You step further in. There are bookshelves, of course, tall ones, cozy ones tucked behind velvet curtains that part for you as you pass. There are journals already half-filled with neat, unfamiliar handwriting. A quill dips itself in ink when you lift it. Some books hum softly. Others open with a sigh, as if waking up. You trail your fingers along the spines. A record player begins to hum in the corner, playing a soft jazz tune that drifts like perfume. You don't remember activating it, but the room knows. It always knows. There's a kettle gently steaming on a table nearby, next to mugs that refill themselves with whatever comfort drink you need. Yours is cocoa again, spiced, rich, thick. Your friend's mug smells like chamomile and lemon peel. You both sit. The chairs are deep and wide, half nest, half throne. The cushions adjust as soon as you sink in, wrapping around you like a hug. One of them warms your feet without being asked. You watch the fire for a long time, not speaking. Words seem too loud here. Eventually, you get up and wander. There's a writing desk tucked near a curtained alcove. Its drawers are full of letters in other people's handwriting, all unsent. Some are to parents, some to professors, some to friends who don't write back anymore. They aren't yours, but they feel like they could be. The room doesn't let you read too much. The drawer shuts gently when you've had enough. In another corner, There's a cabinet full of board games that set themselves up when you reach for one. You don't play, but it's comforting to know that someone could. Next to a bay window, looking out into a garden that doesn't exist, there's a huge quilt laid out on the floor, covered in star maps and enchanted puzzle pieces that float when you try to fit them together. You lie there for a while, your head on a pillow shaped like a moon. You don't talk. You and your friend exist in parallel silence, wrapped in a peace neither of you expected to find tonight. At one point, your friend finds a mirror above the fireplace. It's not the mirror of Arist, no visions of future glory, just a simple, gentle reflection of who you are at that moment. Tired, curious, a little messy. Real? The mirror fogs slightly, then clears. You don't need answers, only a moment to look and feel known. After what feels like an hour, but might be 10 minutes, you both curl up near the fire. Your friend pulls a blanket over themselves. It smells like home. You keep your cocoa nearby, your legs stretched out over a giant velvet cushion shaped like a dragon. It purrs when you shift. You whisper, "I wish we had this room every day." Your friend murmurs, half asleep, "I think we do. We just forget to look for it." Eventually, the room begins to shift, just a little. The fire dims, the music softens. A single candle floats over your heads, dimming slowly, like the last yawn before sleep. You check the map one last time. Still safe. No footsteps near. No danger coming. Just Hogwarts, breathing softly around you, letting you have this moment. You fold the map, stow the cloak, pull your scarf tighter. The door appears again, exactly where you need it. Before you leave, you turn back. The room is still and glowing. It doesn't say goodbye. It doesn't have to. It's always here, when you need it. There are two kinds of fear in Hogwarts. The first is the grand kind, duels in defense against the dark arts, cursed objects that whisper when touched, staircases that vanish beneath your feet. That fear is dramatic, noble, easy to name, and then there's the other kind, the quiet kind, the kind that sneaks up on you in the middle of the night, when your footsteps echo too loud, and a cat-shaped shadow appears at the end of the corridor. You're about to experience that second kind. You and your friend leave the room of requirement, still warm from firelight and starlit ceilings. Your pockets full of biscuits and the last of your cocoa, now lukewarm but comforting. The cloak sways around your ankles. The map pulses softly in your hand. The castle is quiet, too quiet. I think we should double back through the Transfiguration corridor, you whisper. There's a shortcut behind the tapestry of... Too risky, your friend replies. Mrs. Norris likes that route. You don't argue. The Marauder's map is already updating beneath your fingertips. A dot labeled Arga's Filch flickers to life. Another labeled Mrs. Norris appears close behind. You freeze. They're on the move, you whisper. The dots are inching toward the middle stairwell, the very one you're heading for. Change of plan, you hiss. 4th floor corridor. Go now. You turn sharply, dragging your friend with you under the cloak, heart hammering. The flagstones seem to grow louder underfoot as you speed walk past a line of grumpy portraits. One snoozes peacefully in its frame, but another stirs. Past curfew, the wizard mutters. I smell students. You don't slow down. The staircases are shifting ahead, slowly, thoughtfully, as if the castle is deciding how much it wants to help. You hold your breath as the landing begins to move. You jump the last 2 steps just as the marble vanishes beneath your heels. The map flickers. A Mrs. Norris is now on your level. You whip your wand out and tap the parchment. Filch is headed to the charms corridor. You whisper, if we turn now. A sudden sound slices through the silence. A soft meow. Somehow, it's the loudest sound you've ever heard. You and your friend dart into a side hallway. The cloak billows slightly as you tuck yourselves into a shallow alcove between 2 suits of armor. One shifts, annoyed. The other sneezes. You nearly drop the map. She's right behind us, your friend mouths. And she is. Her name on the map moves slowly, deliberately. You don't dare move. Out in the corridor, soft paws pad across the stone. You can't hear breathing. You can't hear voices. Just that careful, feline rhythm. You glance at the map again. Mrs. Norris has stopped moving. So has Filch. They're both less than 10 feet away. You press yourself flatter against the wall. The cloak trembles as your friend shifts. You feel their heartbeat from how close they are, rapid, mirrored by your own. A light appears around the corner. The flicker of a lantern. The clomp of boots. Come out, you little stinkweeds, Filch mutters, voice sharp and oily. I know you're skulking about. I can smell you. You suppress a sneeze. Mrs. Norris meows again, this time almost smug. Filch's boots scrape closer. I'll have you scrubbing bedpans till your wands rot, Think you can sneak past me? Think again. You grip the cloak tighter. The lantern light grows. It casts a long, thin beam across the stone. You hold your breath as it washes over the opposite wall, then the floor, then one of the suits of armor. You squeeze your eyes shut. Filch passes within a foot of you. His breath smells like boiled cabbage. Then he stops. Eh? You open one eye. He's squinting at the armor, the one that sneezed. You lot aren't supposed to move at night. The armor huffs. Filch stares at it, then scowls. I need to get a binding charm on this corridor. Students messing with the castle's enchantments makes everything twitchy. He moves on. His boots echo down the hallway, slowly fading. Mrs. Norris stays behind. She's still, silent, watching. Then, finally, she turns and disappears around the corner. You don't move for a full minute. Then your friend whispers, "That cat is pure evil." You nod, heart still racing. She's smarter than half the staff. You step out of the alcove and check the map again. Filch and his feline menace are 2 floors down now, moving toward the dungeons. Safe. You take a moment to breathe. You didn't duel anyone. You didn't cast a single spell. But it feels like you just survived something enormous. You start walking again, slower now, still beneath the cloak, with the kind of caution only near capture can teach. As you pass a row of narrow windows, moonlight spills across the stone. The castle seems to sigh, settling back into itself. Somewhere far below, a bell tolls the hour. You glance at the map one last time. Still safe, still free, still invisible. But now, with one extra dose of caution and a healthy, lifelong mistrust of tabby cats. The castle is quieter now, quieter than it was when you left the kitchens, quieter than when you nearly got caught by Filch and his furry shadow. The kind of quiet that doesn't just settle around you, it seeps into you. You and your friend drift along beneath the cloak of invisibility, guided by the soft glow of the Marauder's map. Every few steps, you glance down, confirming what you already feel. No one else is near, except for the ghosts. They don't show up on the map, not properly. Sometimes, a faint shimmer flickers across the parchment, a wisp of a name that never settles, a drifting set of footprints with no source, but you always know when they're close. The air changes, colder, thinner, somehow aware of its own past. You're on the 5th floor now, approaching the old music hall, a long-forgotten part of the castle where the walls are too high, the windows too narrow, and the echoes never seem to stop. According to older students, this is where Hogwarts ghosts gather when they don't feel like performing in the Great Hall. A ghost hangout, someone once called it. You reach the arched door at the end of the corridor and pause. There's no lock. You open it. Immediately, the temperature drops. Inside, moonlight spills through arched, dusty windows. The space is wide, stone-floored, and circular, more of a forgotten ballroom than a music room. Everything echoes, even your breath. And then you see them. At first, only one. The Gray Lady. Seated mid-air near an old harp that plays itself with invisible hands. Her eyes are far away, her posture distant. She doesn't look up as you enter. Then, further in, nearly headless Nick floats beside a long table made of faded illusions. He's talking, well, half performing, to a headless man you recognize from a portrait on the 3rd floor. And that's when Peeves dropped the pudding onto the deputy headmistress's hat. Not her head, which really made all the difference. You see, the headless man nods solemnly, holding his own head under one arm like a bowling ball. You slip to the side, sticking to the shadows under the cloak. Your friend mouths, "We shouldn't be here." You nod, then shrug. Curiosity has always been more powerful than caution. As you move deeper into the room, the ghosts begin to appear more clearly. They don't flicker or glow. They drift, soft, sad, serene. Some hover in clusters, whispering to one another without mouths moving. Others float alone, heads bowed, fingers twined in robes that don't quite touch the ground. One ghost hums near the ceiling. Her voice echoes strangely, as if she's trying to remember a song she once knew in life. In the corner, 2 Hufflepuff ghosts are playing an invisible game of wizard chess. The pieces don't move, but they both seem to know exactly who's winning. "Why do they gather here?" your friend whispers. You don't know, but the atmosphere in the room offers a guess. Memory. This is not a place of performance. It's a place of rest, a quiet between existences. You settle behind a pillar and lower the cloak just slightly, peeking out. No one notices. Or maybe they do, and choose to let you stay. Nick continues his story. The ghost with no head laughs so hard it detaches his jaw again. The gray lady still hasn't moved. Her face is statuesque, beautiful in a sorrowful kind of way. You've heard the stories. Rowena Ravenclaw's daughter, brilliant and broken. The kind of history no one writes down properly. A cold breeze moves past your cheek. You turn. A ghost is floating beside you. You nearly yelp, but something in their gaze stops you. It's calm, curious, familiar. I liked this place better before they shut it down, the ghost says softly. The students used to sing here. You and your friend exchange a glance. The ghost smiles, faint and a little sad. Now they just pass by. Why here? You ask quietly. Why not the dungeons or the towers? He drifts a little higher, then slowly circles the room. Because here, the castle forgets us less, and we forget ourselves less. The phrase settles into you like warm tea in cold hands. He doesn't say much else, just floats there for a while. Eventually, a new presence joins the room. So the Bloody Baron, he doesn't speak, just passes through, nods once to the gray lady, and vanishes into the wall. The room shudders slightly with his exit. You feel it in your ribs. I didn't think ghosts talked to each other this much, your friend whispers. Why wouldn't they? You both pause. It's true. Why wouldn't they? The idea that death is silence is something the living assume. But here, surrounded by laughter, whispered gossip, and musical humming, you see how wrong that idea is. They talk. They remember. They gather. Because even in death, no one wants to be alone. You sit down quietly near the corner. The floor is cold. The cloak pools around you like mist. You rest your back against the stone and just watch. Nick is recounting another story, this one from the founding days. Something about a prank that involved 10 buckets of eel slime and a misplaced changeling. One ghost floats through the wall next to you and offers a brief, "Pardon me," before vanishing again. The gray lady eventually moves. She floats past you without looking, but her path dips just slightly, like a nod. A ghostly candle flickers above your head and then steadies. Your friend has stopped fidgeting. They're just listening now. And you are too. You lose track of time. Eventually, you rise, quietly, carefully. You adjust the cloak and slip it over both of you again. As you turn to leave, a soft voice calls from the center of the room. Nick, you didn't hear any of that. Of course, he says, with a wink. You grin under the cloak. Of course not. Sir Nicholas. He bows low. You vanish into the hall. The door shuts behind you, and the music continues. There's something different about walking into the library after midnight. Even with the invisibility cloak around your shoulders and the Marauder's map glowing steady in your hand, the silence here is louder than in any other part of Hogwarts. Not empty, not peaceful, just waiting. You and your friend pass under the tall archway that leads into the library proper. The floating lanterns are dimmed now, casting soft, golden halos that ripple across the stone. Shadows stretch between the bookshelves like ancient fingers. You glance down at the map. Still no sign of Madam Pince. No footsteps, no professors, no Filch. Only you and your friend. Two names pulsing faintly in the far western wing of the castle. You glance up. There it is. The restricted section. It's not grand or dramatic. No heavy iron gate. No blinking alarm charms. Just a narrow wooden door tucked into the deepest part of the library. Almost modest, except for the faint shimmer of enchantment stitched through the grain of the wood. A small plaque above the handle reads, "Restricted. Faculty permission required. Curiosity is not consent." You look at your friend. They nod. You reach out, press your wand gently against the seam where the door meets its frame, and whisper a soft, unlocking charm. Not just Alohomora, but one designed to ask, not demand. You learned it from a sixth year who once accidentally found the recipe for exploding treacle fudge inside a cursed cookbook. The enchantment pauses. Then, slowly, it gives. The door swings open on soundless hinges. Inside, it's cold. Not icy, just untouched. The restricted section is smaller than you imagined, but the shelves stretch all the way to the vaulted ceiling. Every book here looks old, older than the school itself. The air smells like timah and ashes. The light doesn't follow you in. You raise your wand. Lumos. The tip glows, soft and steady. You whisper to your friend, "No talking from now on." They nod. You step inside. The door closes behind you with a sigh. The whispering starts almost immediately. Not voices, not words, just pages. They shift on their own. Covers creak faintly, as if trying to lift themselves open. Chains wrapped around several books rattle, slow, deliberate, like something breathing beneath. You pass the first shelf and pause. A thick, leather-bound book shivers on its perch, as though startled. Its spine reads, "Wandless necromancy, limits and loopholes." You lean closer. The cover twitches. You take a step back. Your friend mutters, behind you, "I think it just looked at me." You whisper, "Don't look back." You move on. The second shelf hums with a faint, static energy. Your fingers graze the edge of a cracked spine etched in dark green ink. The hollow tongue, a lexicon of forbidden speech. The lettering writhes when you try to focus on it. You blink, and the words are gone. In their place, a sigil you don't recognize pulses once before disappearing entirely. Restricted because it contains incantations that bypass intention. Words that force magic to obey, even when you don't mean it to. You both keep walking. The deeper you go, the more the air changes. Thicker, heavier. Another shelf yields a title in faded silver. Mirror. Blood. The art of emotional binding. The book is cold to the touch. Too cold. Your fingers numb instantly. The cover shows a mirror, but not your reflection. Someone else. Someone sad. Someone afraid. This one's banned for a reason. They say the spells inside can trap heartbreaks inside objects, letters, rings, photographs, whole relationships encased in crystal pendants. Pretty, dangerous, eternal. You shiver and walk on. "Over here," your friend whispers. They were crouched beside a low shelf, brushing dust from a wide, flat book bound in copper mesh. Transfiguration, failures, and flesh. You look down and immediately regret it. One of the pages has been burned straight through the middle, leaving a black ring where a diagram of a human rib cage once was. A note scrawled in the margin reads, "Did not survive the reversion process. Do not attempt replication." You both move quickly past that one. The far wall contains a single chained pedestal. There's only one book on it, smaller than the others, wrapped in gray velvet and sealed with a clasp that pulses faintly. You unlock the clasp with your wand. The velvet slithers away like smoke. The veil and what lives beneath. No author, no dedication, only the warning. Do not read at night. Too late for that. You open the cover. Blank page. Second page, blank. Then, lines of tight handwriting begin to fade into view, as if ink is being poured invisibly across the parchment. The book speaks of the Tudu Veil, the one in the Department of Mysteries. You've heard rumors. but nothing like this. It says the veil is not a boundary. It's an invitation, a porous edge, one that leaks. You close the book with a shaky breath. It hums even after it's shut. You glance at your friend. They're no longer browsing. They're watching you. "We should go," you whisper. They nod. But as you move toward the exit, one last book catches your eye. It isn't chained. It isn't locked. It's just sitting there. A slim black journal with no title, no markings, only a faded Hogwarts crest. You pick it up. Inside is a single entry. The spell worked, but I lost something. Myself. Maybe. Or the version of me that would have said no. No name. No date. You set it back down gently. Then you leave. The door creaks softly behind you as you close it. The restricted section doesn't protest. But it does not say goodbye either. You exit into the main library again. The light feels too warm now. Your heart too loud. You and your friend don't speak as you slide the cloak back over your shoulders. You walk away with the kind of quiet that only comes from reading something you can't unread. The Marauder's map flares once. Still alone. Still safe. But something lingers in your pocket. The weight of knowing. And the whisper of pages you'll never touch again. You're sure the corridor turned left. You're sure the tapestry of the dancing doxies was right there. But somehow, you and your friend find yourselves standing at the threshold of a door that groans open on its own, revealing a dim, cold space tiled in faded white and slightly greenish grout. The moment you step inside, you know exactly where you are. A moaning Myrtle's bathroom. It smells of mildew and ghostly water. The torches along the walls flicker as if they're nervous. The mirrors are cracked in all the right places to make your reflection look haunted, even before Myrtle gets involved. Your friend says, "We can still back out." But the door creaks shut behind you, too dramatically to be natural. A deep splash echoes from one of the far stalls. Then a familiar voice groans, "Oh, not again." Who decided midnight was a good time for a field trip? You freeze. A translucent girl in waterlogged robes slowly rises from the U-bend of the center sink. Her round glasses are crooked, and her expression is pure, theatrical misery. So moaning Myrtle. "Look who stumbled in," she sniffs, circling slowly in midair. What is it this time? Love confession gone wrong? Accidentally cursed your eyebrows off? "We got lost," you say flatly. "Lies," she says, spinning upside down. "Everyone comes in here for tragedy, or plumbing, She vanishes back into the basin with a slurp, only to rise again 2 sinks down. While she sulks, you and your friend start exploring. Each sink seems ordinary at first glance, but Hogwarts rarely is. The faucet on the far left reacts to your touch, glowing faintly blue before hissing with steam. The mirror above it shows your reflection, blinking back half a second too late. Your friend crouches beside the central sink. There's something etched into this metal. You lean in. A snake. Coiled at the base, its mouth open mid-hiss. No Hogwarts fixture should have this level of detail. "Don't touch that one," Myrtle croons from above. "Last time someone did, I had to haunt their nightmares for a week. He was a Slytherin, always muttering in snake. So rude." You exchange a look. She means Riddle. Tom. The room suddenly feels colder. You head toward the furthest stall. Its door creaks as you push it open. Inside, peeling paint, claw marks, and graffiti scratched into the wood. Flush twice to escape fate. Don't hex with your wand hand. Riddle was here. Again. Myrtle appears beside you, chin resting dramatically on her translucent hands. "That's my favorite one," she whispers. "He always scratched it in like he wanted to be caught. Such a show-off." You and your friend move to the back wall, where a cracked tile catches your eye. Behind it, a vent, wide and hollow. Your friend kneels, casting a light inside. It stretches into dark stone, a tunnel. "It goes somewhere," they whisper. "I know where it goes," Myrtle hums, "but I'm not telling." You both glance at her. She grins. "I'm just here to observe the inevitable disaster. You know, supportively." You back away from the tunnel. It hums with old magic, and Myrtle hums along. Back at the central sink, your friend points out something else. The soap dish carved directly into the porcelain. At its center is a barely visible rune, faintly glowing under wand light. "What kind of bathroom needs runes?" you ask. Myrtle shrugs. "The kind you don't ask questions about. Unless you like being trapped in pipes." She floats near the ceiling now, drifting above cracked tiles. "I suppose you'll sneak off now, like they all do," she says with a sigh. "Back to your safe, boring beds. Don't worry, I'll be fine. Just me, my plumbing, and the 57th year of being ignored." You and your friend exchange one final glance. You both nod. You start for the door. "Come again soon," Myrtle calls out cheerfully. "Next time, bring a mop." You slip out just before a pipe behind you rattles aggressively, and a ghostly splash soaks the back of your cloak. Outside, the air feels fresher, brighter, sane. Your friend mutters, "That was the worst bathroom I've ever seen." You reply, "And I don't think we've seen the last of it." The door creaks closed behind you on its own. And somewhere inside, Myrtle giggles and flushes. You don't run at first. You move, slowly, steadily, but not with panic, because panic is noise, and noise is how you get caught. The moment you and your friend slip back into the corridor from Myrtle's bathroom, it's clear that the mood has shifted. The castle no longer feels like a playground or a puzzle. It feels like a sentient, slumbering thing that has started to stir beneath your feet. Aware now of your trespass and uncertain whether to be amused or offended, the map glows soft and silver in your hand, illuminating only what matters: the halls you've walked, the shortcuts you've memorized, and the dots, those ever-watching dots that shift when danger breathes. And one of them is moving. Edive Filch. His name pulses on the parchment, dragging behind it the tiny, pointed blur that is Mrs. Norris. And it's the pair of them together that makes your stomach tighten, not because they're fast, but because they're inevitable. A slow tide of unpleasant consequence, with ears sharper than any human's, and a nose that's somehow always one corner away. Your friend sees it too, leaning over your shoulder. And with one shared glance, you wordlessly agree to cut east instead of south, backtracking toward the tapestry of the Troll Ballet and slipping behind it into the narrow servants' stairwell that still smells faintly of copper and centuries-old firewood. The walls in here are close, the ceiling low, and the air thick enough to press against your lungs. But it's the silence that holds your breath hostage, the kind of silence that doesn't come from emptiness, but from things trying not to be seen. You descend one flight, then another, careful not to scuff your shoes or breathe too loud. And though the map is no longer visible, tucked now in your pocket for safety, you know from the rhythm of your own heartbeat that Filch is getting closer, not from speed, but from certainty. You pause at the base of the stairs, ears straining toward a sound you hope not to hear. And of course, you do. The faint click of boots, then the even fainter pad of paws. Not far at all. You and your friend press flat against the wall, cloak drawn tightly over your heads, your wands gripped but unlit. A portrait just above the stairwell, a retired dueling master with a crooked monocle and too much pomade in his hair, tilts his head and mutters, "I wouldn't linger here if I were you." You don't thank him. You just move, turning quickly but quietly into the south corridor. You hug the edge of the torchlight, moving faster now, darting past suits of armor and closed classroom doors, past silent portraits with eyes narrowed in feigned slumber, and alcoves that seem like they were made for children with secrets. A sharp crash rings out from behind you, somewhere up the stairwell, and you both freeze instinctively. It's Peeves. Of course it's Peeves. You don't have to look at the map to know it. His shrieking laughter bounces off the stone like a curse, and from the sound of it, he's just upended a shelf of potion jars in the charms corridor, likely to stir attention or just for fun. But in either case, it means Filch is no longer the only thing awake. You pick up your pace, practically gliding beneath the cloak, your body moving in unison with your friends, both of you too focused to speak, too sharp with adrenaline to stop. The detour takes you near the Transfiguration classroom, past the long stone corridor that leads toward the West Wing. And it's there that the shadows start to grow darker, not in color, but in presence, like they've thickened from watching, like the castle is aware now that you're trying to escape it. You take the next stairwell, slowly, the steps wide and shallow, built for dramatic entrances and not urgent ones. And just as you reach the landing, the map glows again from your pocket. You pull it out, one hand still gripping your wand. And there, close, too close, is Mrs. Norris. Her tiny dot now uncomfortably near, maybe one hall away, maybe just on the other side of the tapestry with the enchanted violin. You don't think, you act, yanking your friend into the niche beside the stone banister. You duck into a tiny maintenance passage, one you discovered on accident during a Care of Magical Creatures detour, and slam the nearly invisible panel behind you, sealing yourselves into pitch-black stillness. It's not silence anymore. You can hear everything, the rush of blood in your ears, the faint wheeze of your breath, the near-silent scrape of your friend's hand as they adjust the cloak, the soft click, click, click of claws on tile as Mrs. Norris prowls just beyond the panel. She sniffs. She pauses. She listens. And then, blessedly, she moves on. You don't emerge until long after her dot has left the map. You're slower now, not cautious. Quiet. Everything about you is tuned to the pulse of the castle, matching your footsteps to the hush of the draft. weaving your path through archways and under statues, sticking close to the walls like you've always belonged to them. You and your friend part ways at the stairs, too tired for jokes now, too full of everything you can't describe. And as you walk the final step to your common room, one slow step at a time, the castle finally begins to quiet around you. Not because it has forgiven you, but because it knows you've learned something. Something about timing, something about silence, and most of all, something about the weight of being almost caught. The wall seals shut behind you with the faintest of sighs, as though the castle itself is finally exhaling after holding its breath all night. You stand there for a moment, just inside the common room, your heart still slowing from the chase, the silence folding back around you like the last page of a well-read book. Everything is still. Everything is still yours. You move softly across the room. The fire in the hearth has long since curled into embers, flickering, low and lazy, just enough to paint faint halos around the furniture. Someone has fallen asleep on the long velvet sofa, their face buried in their arms, one socked foot twitching faintly with dreams. A chessboard sits abandoned nearby, the night piece slumped forward like it too has given in to sleep. You step past all of it. No rush now, no need for caution. You've made it. You climb the dormitory stairs one at a time, the soles of your shoes brushing over stone worn smooth by decades of other students making their own quiet returns. Each step feels heavier, but not from fear. This is the weight of memory settling in. Tonight was not just a secret. It was a story. The kind you carry with you, not in words, but in breathless moments and torch-lit shadows, and the echo of your own laughter held tightly behind your teeth. When you reach your dorm, the door doesn't creak. It welcomes you. Inside, everything is wrapped in the hush of deep sleep. Curtains drawn tight, blankets rumpled, the air still warm from the bodies already tucked in. You find your bed and pull the heavy velvet curtain back just enough to slip inside. The clock on the wall ticks once. 1 o'clock. You don't even bother changing. You sit on the edge of the mattress and toe off your shoes, letting them drop soundlessly to the floor. You hang your wand on the side rail, where it hums faintly, recognizing home. The invisibility cloak slips from your shoulders into your trunk. The Marauder's map is still warm in your palm. You place it gently under your pillow, where your fingers can still touch the corner of it. The bed is familiar. The blankets nestle against your legs as you swing them up and lie back. You exhale, slowly, letting your eyes close. But you don't fall asleep yet. Not quite, because the night hasn't left you. It lingers in your chest. You feel the soft tug of every room you passed through, the sweetness of the kitchen, the hum of the restricted section, the haunting hush of Myrtle's laugh, the near-miss throb of Filch's footsteps, the joy and thrill of moving unseen, the secret tunnel under the sink, the whisper of ghosts telling stories meant only for the walls. The castle holds it all. It always does. You let the thoughts pass like clouds, watching them drift across the surface of your mind until your breathing steadies. Your muscles unwind. The world narrows to the curtain around your bed, and the weight of your own body sinking into warmth. And when sleep does come, it doesn't crash over you. It slides in gently, like water over stone, like the end of a spell well cast, like a secret told only to the dark. Outside, the lake sways softly. The portraits slumber. The last torch fades. And Hogwarts keeps your secret, sealed behind the stones, as your dreams pick up where your night left off.